Okay, I think you're going to find this interesting, I hope, and somewhat informative. King Crocoduck contacted me a couple of days ago to say that he had had this exchange with Laughing Witch's husband, with a view to trying to provide some assistance, not to Laughing Witch and her husband so much as to their employees. He wanted to set up a scheme whereby donations would be received and then would be passed on directly to Laughing Witch and her husband's employees within the business. That was the situation there. He sent me through some screen caps of the exchange that had taken place on Facebook, and also an email that he had received from Laughing Witch herself, thanking him for taking part. So that was the situation. Then yesterday she made a video, and she starts these things off. She says, "I'm going to do another video," as if you need somebody to tell you that when you're at the start of a 30-odd minute video. But she's made this video and made a series of criticisms of King Crocoduck, which was exactly the kind of concern that he had. Part of his concern is because of the nature of the channel and because of the focus of his channel. He doesn't want to include a response to that on his channel, and he wanted somebody who could do that on his behalf. I said I was prepared to do that even before I'd seen the screen caps, and the reason I said that is because I knew what this was about, because, and I'll show you the exchange now, I was involved in the Twitter exchange where he decided that he would do something. Now, at the time when that exchange started, I didn't know exactly what it was, and so a day or so later I contacted him and said, "What became of what you were trying to set up there?" And that's when he let me know what was in the offing, what he was trying to set the ball rolling. And it was to try and help the employees. And there was no comment. He didn't make any comment there about feminism, about anything untoward, or about trying to make the company go under, or anything like that. It was purely an act of benevolence on his part towards the employees. So I knew that he was standing on pretty firm ground, and I was quite prepared to have his back. He sent me through the screen caps. I had a look at the screen caps, and I've got to say, he has acted, as far as I can see, totally in good faith. What I would ask you to do is look at the footnotes of this video, and what you will see is the comment that he has left on Laughing Witch's video. And he elaborates on the points that I'm going to make now. But just let me quickly run through the 8 criticisms that he has of how she has portrayed him in the video, and then we'll start looking at some of the exchange that he actually had, some of the evidence. So these are the 8 issues, and I'll just quickly run through them now. The first was that King Crocoduck says, it wasn't me that come out with this idea that business was doomed. It was other people like Kevin Logan and Laughing Witch's husband, as you'll see on the comments. His second complaint, King Crocoduck, was that, "Why are you saying I'm an MRA in this video? I'm not an MRA." I'll just answer this one, right? This isn't in the screen caps. It's a funny thing, MRAs. Feminism is a very big movement. The MRA movement is a tiny movement in comparison with a very, very few people. But at the same time, anybody who has a socio-political, ideological disagreement with people like Laughing Witch is an MRA. So MRAs include just a very, very small number of people, an insignificant number of people that most of the time, other than in certain spheres of the internet, you can just ignore. But it also includes billions and billions of people who, unbeknownst to them, are MRAs because they have a socio-political disagreement with people like Laughing Witch. So that's how it works, that one. Okay, it must be some kind of honorary title, I think, or something like that. I don't know. So the third complaint that King Crocoduck has was that she said that he was just determined to let the business die. As you'll see on the screen caps, it's exactly the opposite of that. He went out his way to give extra information as to how they could keep the business afloat. The fourth complaint King Crocoduck has, he says that that she's exaggerating the amount of information on the employees that he'd asked for, that he'd actually only asked for the bare minimum that he would need to organise the campaign that he was trying to organise. Again, you will see that in the screen caps. And the next thing he says he takes objection to is that he said he never told them to lie. What he says is you just need to emphasise the damage on the employer. On the employees, I should say. The next thing is that what he takes exception, she says that King Crocoduck had said that she had caused the damage to the business. And he says, no, it was your husband that said that, right? Your husband agreed, admitted to that, and you will see that is there again in the screen caps. His next objection, the seventh objection, is that he never mentioned feminism. She makes this big thing about him being an anti-feminist and going on about feminism. He never mentions feminism in any of it. You see if you can find a mention of feminism. And then The last one is that she says that her husband did not want to do the fundraising in the way that he'd suggested. Again, you'll see in the screen caps, the husband was wildly on board with all of this, so that is absolute bullshit. So let's get on with the screen caps and have a look what all of this is about. Okay, so this is the start of the exchange, and I'm not doxing anybody here, so don't worry. Paul Burns, his name is already released, of course, that's Laughing Witch's husband. Casey Plank, that is King Crocoduck, but that is not his real name. I've just clarified that with him before making this video, just to make sure on that. He set this Facebook account up so that he could have this exchange. So they're just introducing themselves to one another here, and that's the only reason I'm showing you that. So this is the very next bit of the conversation. You can see right from the outset that Laughing Witch's husband is saying this may be the end of a 26-year run and 14 employees. So there's a little bit of doom creeping in there, I think, and it's not King Crocoduck that's orchestrating that particular little bit of doom there. Also note he asks for a bit of information about employees, but says he doesn't want anything too personal, and we'll see what that amounts to a little bit later. Now I'm going to miss a little bit of the conversation out where Paul gives some information about the employees, including their first names and details of how many children they have, what kind of houses they live in. It's not really relevant, and that's maybe a little bit more personal information than I really want to give out in this video. So then King Crocoduck starts to outline the plan that he has for the fundraiser. And when we're talking about how much information he needed on his employees, have a look at what he puts here. In order to maintain everyone's privacy, their PayPal accounts, that's the PayPal accounts of the employees, will not contain their real names. You will write down each worker's name and correspond a number to each one. That number will be the name by which I know them, but you won't tell me their names. You will tell me what percentage of the funds go to which numbers, and I will wire the appropriate funds to them. After that, he then goes on to detail the sort of best case scenario, mid case scenario, and worst case scenario, that either it helps to keep the business afloat, it doesn't keep the business afloat, but at least manages to provide some support for the employees. As you can see by this, Laughing Witch's husband is not just appreciative, he's wildly appreciative. I can't believe you would do this. You are making me cry. That is so kind of you to try and assist. I'll get Jen on this to help set it up. And King Crocoduck doesn't overplay it. He says respectfully, so it will take very little effort on my part. The brunt of the money will come from other people. So he's not milking the fucking thing. But it's quite clear that Laughing Witch's husband is very, very grateful. So this next part, King Crocoduck is discussing what he discusses a few times on this whole exchange, which is how they're going to formulate the video thing and how it's going to be sold, which is an important part, of course, because a lot of people have a lot of negative feelings towards Laughing Witch. And he wants to separate that from, quite understandably, in terms of the fundraising campaign and in terms of who is actually responsible for any of this, from the ill will towards the company and towards the employees. And that's what he starts to be talking about. In fact, he makes it quite clear elsewhere in the exchange that what he's trying to achieve is to get Paul to distance Laughing Witch from the company, to present himself as the husband who had nothing to do with the actions of his wife, and his wife's actions to be irrelevant to the company. Why? Because that would make people more keen to donate money towards them. Look at Paul Burns' response. He accepts, right, that it is his wife's action that has caused this, but then says at the end, I can't berate for what's already done. Interesting to see what King Crocoduck's response to that is. King Crocoduck's response to that is to agree with him and say, no, of course you shouldn't berate her. What's done is done. We need to be moving forward from here. So rather than King Crocoduck making this big issue about it being Laughing Witch's fault, he actually agrees with Paul Burns. Let's put that behind us and move on with the situation. So this is a very interesting slide and very damning for Laughing Witch's accusation that King Crocoduck simply wanted the business to die. In actual fact, he simply offered this on top of the fundraising campaign. This suggestion that they need a new domain, a new business name, keep the old business name going as a decoy, and then start the business with a fresh name and a fresh Yelp page so that it will go under the radar. Why would he be doing this if he was determined to see the business die? What a load of absolute bullshit. So the reason I'm showing you these two slides, I won't read them out, read them while I'm talking away here, is to just strike down once and for all this bullshit that Laughing Witch came out with, that there's some kind of MRA conspiracy going on here, and that people like Thunderfoot and King Crocoduck are these secret MRAs, and they're all actually working together, that they're all on one coherent side. Now obviously there are some areas of agreement that King Crocoduck and Thunderfoot have over some of these issues, including how they feel about what Laughing Witch did with her letter writing campaign, but clearly there were disagreements as well, and clearly King Crocoduck does not agree with the way that Thunderfoot always conducts himself, as is clear from these messages here. So that just shows what bullshit it is, this MRA conspiracy nonsense. So here the two of them are wrapping up the conversation, and the interesting thing is that this just confirms exactly what personal information was needed when Laughing Witch said that he wanted all this personal information on the employees. This is what he asked for. I'll need to know which PayPal accounts will be worked with and what percentage of money corresponds to each one. And bear in mind what he said earlier about he doesn't want the names of the workers on the PayPal accounts, just allocate them a number, so he doesn't even need to know the names of the workers. With regard to the mention of the photographs which he'd wanted to use, obviously just to show that we're talking about normal people there, and obviously could have shown them with their faces blurred out. I don't think that would have been a problem. As you will see when I show you the emails in a little while, when Laughing Witch and her husband declined on that issue, that was fine with Crocoduck. He said, okay, well that's fine, let's go with the rest of the plan. So this was the end of the conversation between the two of them now. And note that poor Laughing Witch's husband, he's very, very keen on this. This idea that she said that he wasn't keen on it, he is very keen on it. And what he also said was that he would speak to his wife and inform his wife of what was going on. And that brings us to the email that his wife sent. Note the date of the email. The date of the email is the next day. So she had had a chance to review the exchange that had taken place, and this is what she said. To King Crocoduck, thanks for all you are doing. I really appreciate this. I have someone trying to negotiate to get him to take down the videos too. That was Kevin Logan she was referring to with Thunderfoot's videos. I do the finances, but you can make it only Paul who will handle the account. I hope we will not need it, but it is great to know we may have help. So it seems as if at this point she was very much on board with it, having seen the exchange that had taken place. Then 6 hours later, another email, this time from Paul, and note how things have changed here. Let me read you a bit of this out. Afternoon, Casey. A few things before we get too far into this. Jen's not willing to play into an MRA wet dream, as she puts it. Note that all the talk about feminism and Crocoduck making this an anti-feminism thing, he never mentioned feminism once, but she's gone into the rhetoric of it being an MRA wet dream. So she's pretty uncomfortable with that. Second, on the employees, I mentioned it to a couple on the staff. It's a bit garbled, this. And I got a resounding no. On personal information other than what is on our website, plus some basic info would be okay, and the PayPal per employee just won't work either. Then listen to this part. Plus, I'd rather not have to tell them about all that's going on. You know, I'm reading between the lines here. This is just me reading what's going on here. I kind of feel that last sentence there sums it up. That this is more about him not... Perhaps his employees, most of them are blissfully unaware of what is going on, and he doesn't want to have to broach the subject about it. And that's the actual subtext to all of this. He doesn't want to have to broach the subject with his employees. Instead of me doing this video, we need to just use the images on the review site to show what is happening. Jenny's talking to friends about starting a fundraising that your followers could help with if interested. We certainly aren't looking to line our pockets. Any help would be used to keep the operation going during this stressful time. So there's several things that he wants here. He doesn't want to use the employees' pictures or the employees' information. He doesn't want Jet to spin this narrative that Jen is not as involved with the company. And he also doesn't want the PayPal thing to be ongoing, the system to set up so it goes directly to the employees. And Crocoduck responds. He said he's fine with all of that. He's disappointed in several different ways, but he's fine with it. The one thing that he can't back down on, though, is this issue of the PayPal, and he makes this clear in a subsequent one that really people are not going to be happy unless they know exactly where this money is going to, and if they can find a way of smoothing this over, then that would be absolutely fantastic. So that was where the bulk of the conversation ended. You will note from that that he makes an offer that once Paul has decided it, and his wife have made this video themselves, that they've effectively decided to do it off their own back rather than through Crocoduck. He says that he's quite happy to share the link on Google Plus and on Twitter, and he wishes them the best of luck, and that is how it ends. That is the end of the conversation. It's all ended on a pretty reasonable note, I think. And yet now she's respinning the whole exchange into something entirely different and in something that it wasn't. That was why I'm prepared to come on, make this video and devote half my day to making this video to clear this one up, because I think this is very important to put this one to bed. What do I think about Laughing Witch's video? Well, that isn't a subject for this video. I just want to leave you with two little clips. One from the item that they did with WUSA 9 News, and then another just taken from a video. I want to say that perhaps some of the problems that they've had running their business is that they have some issue as to when the phone is actually fucking ringing. Okay, well, I'll leave you with that one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Attacking the company's leadership, not its craftsmanship, with devastating effect.
So they're just passing over us right now. The emails have stopped, and the phone calls have dwindled.
Now, that was so that as the company failed and our lives completely destroyed, these guys would have something and they could move on. But meanwhile, the phone kept ringing.